Hi there, welcome back to the Ginescast. I'm your host, Gina.annunziato. Thank you so much for joining me. This is just a quick recap of what I saw going down at Politicon 2018. I've got a highlights video in the works right now and some interviews lined up, I hope. So I think that there's just a ton to discuss here and a lot more that could be discussed. But alas, I am only one person. So in the meantime, while we figure everything out, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the Ginescast number 24, moving on from Politicon. When you go to a place you've never been before, what do you picture before you arrive? Do you see the layout of the space? Are you thinking about who you plan on meeting, or do you just have zero expectations? That's how I'm trying to be lately, just no expectations about anything. I'm really trying to live in the moment to moment, live there. Be here now. And so far, I think it's working. When I touched down in Los Angeles last Friday, I started out kind of on a personally sad note. And I'm not about to bore you with the details of that, but I wasn't going to let whatever I was feeling ruin my weekend. I had taken a couple days off of work in order to go to Politicon, and I wasn't about to just let that all be one pile of crap because of something I have no control over. There was something in the air that told me that everything was going to be all right. And it was. It was a beautiful weekend in Los Angeles. I had a great hotel room. I was right in the middle of downtown LA. I could see the mountains from my room. It was a beautiful couple of days. Everyone was just kind of starting to mellow out, I think. And maybe it's partially California's nice weather or the fact that they've legalized marijuana for recreational use, but I knew I was feeling something real here, and I was ready to get started. I happened upon Politicon in the Los Angeles Convention Center. It was impressive to see a large MSNBC stage and subsequent booth that was serving quote-unquote Morning Joe coffee. Being in a blue state like California, there was a sense that a lot of that weekend was going to veer to the left of things. But that thought really went out the window the more MAGA hats and quote adorable deplorable shirts I saw on display. There was a good hearty mix of right and left proudly displaying their affiliation, and it wasn't a problem. In the slightest. You'd think a thing as polarizing as politics would trickle down a little bit when there's a convention dedicated solely to it. But that wasn't really the case. People were walking around the convention like they walk around in New York City, just going about their own way and not bothering anyone. It was really a welcome sight. I felt quite at home, and this is what I was going through as I began my live streaming adventures. Normally in my day-to-day life, I kind of sort of like to mess with people in a way, but I do it in a way so they can't hate me by the end of it. And of course, being so adorable and cute and smiley doesn't hurt either. There's never really a desire for me to sway people into my line of thinking or kind of lead them into the answer that I wish that they would have, but I do understand that that comes off that way accidentally. At the core, I honestly just want to hear what people have to say. And this weekend, people told me a lot, whether they directly spoke to me or not. Were there some spirited and lively debates? Well, there sure were. In fact, I like to think that Saturday can be best described as, quote, everyone lost their shit at least once. And I'm including myself in that mix, mind you. I was capturing on live stream a particularly cringy moment of myself where two gentlemen stream sniped me and recorded me without telling me why. I felt very targeted and it creeped me out, so I let them know in the most East Coast way possible that I am not the one to mess with. But my overreaction is forever captured on the internet, so it is what it is. And whether it was hearing the shrillness coming from Kathy Griffin or our boy Michael Avenatti, or the explosive anger coming out of Charlie Kirk at Cenk Uygur, it's safe to say that Politicon was nothing short of entertaining. But like it or not, conversations there were occurring, and that's something I think needs to be highlighted more and more, rather than all this nonsense drama that no one's going to care about in a week because it's the internet, you know. On the whole, the argument can be made that conservatives are sort of winning right now in the political sphere, President Trump is a Republican president, and the Republicans hold the majority in both the House and the Senate. This could potentially all change when the midterms happen in about 2 weeks, but that's besides the point here. Because inside Politicon, in my opinion, the conservatives were losing. They were losing the plot, they were losing the discussions and the debate, and they were certainly losing me. All I heard out of the conservative panels I went to were the same old rehashed talking points, hit over and over and over again. The arguments descended into who was more correct in their spouting of facts, instead of trying to actually speak like a normal person, instead of a fax machine. Those with the liberal lens were actually making points that I thought could have been hammered out into more definitive discussion areas. But for me personally, the apparent stench of smug that seemed to waft over these people was just too palpable for me to bear. And I realize how arrogant I sound right now. I'm not so sure the people I'm thinking of think the same thing about themselves, though. It becomes increasingly difficult for me to be fully on your side if I think you're far more interested in making yourself look like your toots don't stink instead of trying to make a decent debate point. But guess what else happened this weekend? A surprising number of people from opposite ends of the political spectrum, they were finding points where they agreed. Isn't that wild? In this political climate, in current year 2018, conservatives and liberals were agreeing on things. I know, I couldn't believe it either, honestly. But I promise you that these things were happening, the more people just kind of turned into people. And they spoke what they were feeling instead of just being their own version of NPCs and spouting off the same shit we've heard a million times before. I know that conservatives have kind of co-opted the NPC meme and they're kind of using it to call liberals people who only say the same thing over and over again. But you have to realize, conservatives, that you're kind of your own version of NPCs right now, considering that all I heard was just a whole bunch of same old talking points over and over again, literally listing countries, like I could count them on my fingers, how just systematically they were repeating themselves over and over again. And you have your own echo chamber of calling everybody NPCs and saying the same thing over and over again. It's just not funny anymore. It gets really old really quick. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that these memes that appear, there's no staying power to them anymore? They just peter out real quick. I think what's happening is that maybe we are scared to see what happens when we actually start to get along. And we're doing this because drama is a lot of fun. And I'm speaking as a professional only child drama queen here. Perhaps we're just too impatient to listen to one another. There's a lot of things going on, so I get it's hard. And it's always nice to be the one who gets to teach or school people, I guess. But you always have to be willing to learn from others too, because that's how you get more information that you can teach. And I think conservatives need to learn to loosen up a little bit and stop taking themselves so seriously. And liberals should burst away from the smug cloud a little bit and stop taking themselves so seriously. Remember, we can always disagree with one another, but we don't have to disagree. It's not working anymore, just being a dick for no reason. Because people are expecting that. I kept seeing in my chat when I would go to certain debates, oh yes, I can't wait for the firestorm to bust out. People were actively hoping for a shit-flinging competition and would get bored and tune out when it was just too much agreement. When you go into things with expectations like that, things tend to not pan out as you wish they would. All in all, Politicon was a huge success for me, and I'll more than likely go back again next year. I met some really incredible people there and walked away feeling more confident in myself and what I'm capable of doing. There's a lot of different directions we can go just as long as we keep pressing on and never forget that we're all people at the end of the day. So now, it's time to move on from Politicon and head back into the real world for a little bit. Or maybe Politicon was the realest world of them all. Just people learning from one another, or at least trying to. Gathering in a certain place to try and figure out one of the most complex things that's going on in our society right now, the world of politics. And maybe what I captured through my phone was the perfect little slice of my life that I needed in order to finally be able to begin again. What am I starting over from, you ask? I don't know. Take your pick. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ginescast. Like I said at the beginning of this cast, I am assembling a highlight reel of sorts of my favorite moments from Politicon. I would encourage you to go back and watch as many of the live streams as you can. I know that they're very, very long, but the streams don't necessarily work if you don't incorporate the chat along with them, because I'm talking to the chat so much. So I appreciate that YouTube has the live chat feature now, which is great, and it works really well. But I will be putting together a highlight reel, and I hope that you like it, because I like it so far. Again, I've got interviews on the way. I've got more things we can talk about, and we're just going to keep having fun here and keep doing what we're doing. The Ginescast comes out every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like this video, you can leave a like, leave a comment, or share it with someone you think would like it, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. If you want more from me, you can follow me on Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram, Twitch, and Gab at hellogines, or shoot me an email at gina.annunziato@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ginescast. I'm your host, Gina.annunziato, and I'll see you next time. Take care.